Hey guys, I'm Delta's Transport Adventures, and welcome back to another video. Now, on the Friday the 13th of October 2023, I was at Luton Airport after the fire was put out, and today I am going to show you guys what I did there, since I had a very exciting day. Now, before I start, I have made a community post and it says that most of you guys watching my videos have not subscribed. So if you are satisfied in my content and want to see more, please consider hitting a subscribe button, as it really helps me out. Alright, let's get started. First, we're going to talk about how I got there. The first thing I did was that I walked from my home to one of the bus stops next to the main campus of Barnfield College, and then I got on the stagecoach MK1, which was being ran by a normal Enviro 400. The bus journey was alright, and it was relatively quick, since it took me close to 20 minutes to reach Luton Airport. Now, we are going to move on to the plane dive scene. Unfortunately, I was supposed to see a DHL Airbus A300 taking off, doing flight QY 6717 to Frankfurt. I saw on Flight Radar 24, and the flight was scheduled at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, but it turned out that it took off at 1 p.m. instead, after the bus came. But I have a picture of it. Here it is. This was a DHL Airbus A300 B4-600 freighter doing flight QI 6717 from Luton to Frankfurt. At least I was able to see it on takeoff just as I left Luton Station. The only part I missed was seeing the pushback, the engine startup, and the taxi to the runway, but at least that's okay with me. By the way, the registration of the plane was DAE-AQ. Now, let's move on to the next big heavy plane I saw when I reached Luton Airport. Once I reached Luton Airport, I decided to get off next to the Holiday Inn Express Hotel, and once I got there, I saw a private-owned Boeing 767-200. If you remember the community post I made, it was the same one I saw. Here are some images. If I'm going to be honest, I was actually really shocked to stand really close next to a wide-body plane. The registration of the plane was N767A. I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed standing super close to it. The Boeing 767 is what I call a huge, big, massive, and a super heavy jet. If you're wondering how I noticed this is a 767-200, it was because I noticed it looks like the 767-300ER, but the difference is that the 767-200 is shorter and it has no winglets, unlike the 767-300ER. After some time of looking at the Boeing 767-200, I decided to check on Flight Radar 24, and guess what? I have noticed that there is a Boeing 787-8 from TUI Airways, which took off after 4 p.m. So, I decided to go near the signature flight support to see if the Boeing 787 is being parked outside the maintenance hangar. Here it is. This was at Luton for maintenance after coming in from Manchester. So, before the takeoff, I decided to go and see it parked up to take some images. The registration of the plane was G2ED. I remember this was the second time I've seen it. Or in fact, no. It was the third time I've seen it. Because when I first saw this plane, it was back in May when it was taking off. But I can't remember where it was headed. For some reason, when I saw it being parked outside the maintenance hangar, I saw the rudder being moved on the tail for whatever reason, which is quite strange, to be honest. Normally, after planes push back onto the taxiway and start their engines, I normally see them testing their controls, such as the rudder, the ailerons, and the elevators, which is what they normally do. After a couple of minutes of seeing a Dreamliner being parked outside the maintenance hangar, after that I decided to have a roam around the airport. I was near Princeway and I saw a Bombardier Global Express being parked up, and I also saw the Dreamliner as well from Princeway as well. Here it is. I don't know which variant of the Global Express this plane is, but I saw it being parked next to the Harrods Aviation hangar. If you guys know which variant of the Global Express this plane is, please let me know in the comments below. After seeing the private jet being parked somewhere, here's another picture I took of the Dreamliner, but this was took at Princeway, which is next to, I can't remember which street it was. Oh, I got it. It was Percival Way. The scenery from here looks good, but I like it better from near the signature, where it's much closer. After roaming around the airport, if you guys remember the fire that happened at Luton on multi-storey car park 2, I decided to go speak to the staff, and they said that only car park 2 was closed, but the rest of the car parks were open, and car park 1 wasn't affected, which is good. I was glad that car park 1 was still open, so I decided to go there and wait for the Dreamliner. Now, let's talk about some stuff I did when I was there at multi-storey car park 1. Now, before I went there, I decided to go into the terminal and have some beverages, since I was feeling quite thirsty or something. While I was at multi-storey car park 1, if you guys remember the video I uploaded yesterday of the Follow Me car, I decided to make a video of it moving on the taxiway. Let's show it. Yeah, that's the Follow Me car over here. They're trying to get things ready for the Dreamliner. there's a follow me car over here. After the follow me car has came, I noticed that there was a Ryanair Boeing 737 MAX 8. So what the follow me car did was they parked the 737 MAX next to the EasyJet plane. But I'm not sure why they did that. But let's show a video. Then we have the 737 MAX. I still remember on the 737 MAX with United. Now, let's move on to the best part I enjoyed. So, after seeing all these EasyJet, Wizz and Ryanairs passing me by, the Boeing 787 Dreamliner from TUI Airways has started to move. Now, let's show some videos of it being towed onto the taxiway first, before engine start up. I assume it's departing. If you guys were wondering how I assumed it would depart, it was because the previous Dreamliner which was G2EA, I was meant to see this taking off, but when I saw it coming, I saw it being towed to the engine test area instead, and then it just kept getting delayed for several hours straight, which is a huge shame. That was what made me miss the takeoff. Now, let's resume. Is the camera steady? I'm gonna take pictures of both planes. Is it steady? Is it steady? The name of the plane is Angel at the Scar. Once the airplane has finished towing onto the taxiway, I decided to take a picture of the engine as well. Here it is. If you guys are wondering what these engines are, these are the Gen X 1B engines. These are one of the two engines that powers the Boeing 787 Dreamliner family of planes. The other being the Rolls-Royce Trent 1000. Out of both of the Boeing 787 engines, I prefer the Gen X 1B engines because they seem more powerful and more efficient. There's also another variant of the Gen X. Those are the 2B engines. Those ones power the Boeing 747-8 airplanes. Here's another picture I took with both of those big planes. To your left is the Boeing 767 parked up, and to your right is the Boeing 787 being towed onto the taxiway. Now, let's move on to the next footage where I show you guys the engine startup. It should be starting its engine soon. Beautiful. Come on. Let's hear your GNX 1B engines start up. It's starting! The engines are running. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the engine startup footage. Overall, I really enjoyed listening to those Gen X 1B engines starting up. Because to be honest, they sound very good on startup, but they don't sound as good as the GE90 engines from the Boeing 777s. Those are the sister engines of the Gen X, but they're much bigger and much more powerful. Now, let's move on to the taxi footage, where we should get a great engine spool up noise. Turn on the taxi lights. Let's hit the spool up. I remember seeing this back in May, and here it is again. Build up! It's on taxi! Almost can't touch it! This thing is a beauty! My goodness, guys. Could you imagine listening to those Gen X 1B engines spooling up once the taxi begins? If I'm going to be honest, they sound absolutely incredible and amazing. Somehow, when the plane was taxiing, I didn't see it tracking on Flight Radar 24 for some reason, but it did just as the taxi started. Now, are you guys ready for another exciting part? Now, let's move on to the very last part, where we see the takeoff. Yep, it's going for full runway. Okay guys, so if you were wondering what happened there, why the plane was going the other way, it was because when it was entering the runway, it needed to do a backtrack towards the beginning. Because of course, such big heavy planes, such as the Boeing 787, the Airbus A330 or any other big heavy planes that need to take off, usually they need to backtrack towards the beginning of the runway so that they will have enough runway to be able to take off. I still remember seeing this with the Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner, which came previously after I landed from Toronto. When I saw it trying to take off, it just went straight onto the runway with no backtrack, and then during takeoff roll, they aborted the takeoff because there was not enough runway for it to take off. I think the only wide-body plane that does this is the A300, but other ones, like the Boeing 767, the 787, and the A330, they have to backtrack towards the beginning of the runway so that they can take off with no problems whatsoever. That's why the Boeing 787-9, which took off at night, they aborted the takeoff since it did not backtrack at all. Now, are you guys ready to see the takeoff? Let's do it. Stop. Off it goes to Manchester. There you have it, guys. That's the takeoff. So, that's it, guys. That's the Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner takeoff, which I saw before heading back home. Now, after the takeoff, I decided to go into the terminal real quick since I needed to go use the toilet. And then after that, I got on the bus to get back home. While I was on the bus, I saw the Boeing 767-200 for the last time. Here are some more images I took. So, like I said, the registration is N767A. When I saw this, I did not know what time it was gonna take off, so I only saw it parked up while I was at the airport and on the bus back home. There were also some other private jets near it. Now, let's move on to the conclusion. Overall, I had an absolute awesome time at Luton Airport. This was my last time at Luton Airport since next week I'm going to Istanbul for a couple of days. And I'm looking forward to it. Things that made me satisfied was seeing three big, heavy, massive airplanes, such as the DHL A300, which I've seen on the bus to the airport, including the Boeing 767 and the 787 departure, which I've seen at the airport. And I'm looking forward to seeing those planes again after I come back. Alright guys, that's going to wrap up the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please make sure to like the video, share and subscribe to the channel and click on your notifications so you don't miss any uploads. Alright guys, this is Delta's Transport Adventures. I am out and I shall see you guys later. Peace out.